acrid tang of spilled blood, the coppery stench of death filled Cuauhtémoc's nostrils. It clung to the air, a thick, suffocating shroud woven from the shattered lives of his brothers. He pushed himself up, his limbs screaming protest, his body a roadmap of agony. The sun, a molten eye in the indifferent sky, glinted off 100 obsidian blades, 1,000 broken shields, a sea of feathered headdresses now stained crimson. The Maya had done their work. There was no one else, just him. His breath hitched, ragged and wet, a desperate sound in the sudden, profound silence. It wasn't the silence of peace, but the silence of absence, a gaping void where the boisterous camaraderie, the war cries, the very pulse of his people had been. Each fallen body was a personal monument to his failure, a stark testament to his inability to protect them. He stumbled, his gaze sweeping across the carnage. He recognized faces, the set of a jaw, the defiant tilt of a head, even in death. Jepili, his shield brother, lay sprawled near him, his once vibrant macaw feather headdress now matted with gore. Next to him, Huitzilin, who had always boasted of his strength, lay twisted, a Maya spear protruding from his chest like a grotesque bloom. The grief, when it truly hit, was not a wave, but a detonation. It ripped through him, a physical agony that dwarfed the pain of his wounds. It was a consuming inferno, an all-encompassing darkness that threatened to swallow him whole. He choked on it, a guttural sob escaping his lips, a sound too raw, too primal to be human. He had sworn an oath. He had stood shoulder to shoulder with these men, pledged to defend their honor, their lives, their very existence. And he had failed, utterly, irredeemably failed. His knuckles, raw and bleeding, tightened into fists. He wanted to scream, to shatter the silence with a sound that would echo across the plains, a testament to the atrocity he had witnessed. But no sound came, only the rasp of his own desperate breathing. His vision blurred, not from tears, but from a rising tide of something hotter, sharper, more dangerous than sorrow. It was rage, a righteous, unyielding fury that burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Rage at the Maya, at their brutality, at their victory. Rage at the gods who had allowed this to happen. Rage at himself for being so weak, so utterly incapable. He staggered to his knees, the blood seeping into his tattered loincloth. He looked up at the sky, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with a feverish intensity. The molten sun seemed to mock him, its warmth a stark contrast to the cold dread that had settled in his bones. He remembered the ancient tales, the whispers of divine intervention, the promises of power granted to those who were truly tested. He had always been a warrior, a man of action, of tangible strength. But this was beyond the reach of any blade, any shield, any tactic he had ever known. This required something more, something divine.
Tlaloc,
He choked out, the name a desperate rasp, a plea directed at the god of rain and storm, a god who often wept tears of blood for his fallen children. But the sky remained silent, the wind merely rustling through the tall, dry grass, a mournful sigh that offered no solace. He tried again, his voice gaining a desperate strength, a raw, animalistic desperation.
Sentiodal, god of maize, provider of life. You see this desolation. You see the graves you have sown.
Still, only the wind answered, indifferent to the agony unfolding below. Then, a name, a dark whisper from the deepest recesses of his memory, a name associated with shadow and power, with retribution and fear. Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, the God who saw all, who manipulated all, who reveled in the chaos born of human despair. He had always been a distant, fearsome entity, a power invoked in hushed tones, a force to be placated, not summoned in desperate supplication. But in this moment, the concept of fear was a luxury he could no longer afford. His brothers lay dead. His world was shattered. There was nothing left to lose. He sank further to his knees, his forehead touching the blood-soaked earth. He closed his eyes, not in prayer, but in a desperate, all-consuming focus. He poured every ounce of his grief, every shard of his shattered pride, every drop of his burning rage into a single, searing thought. A plea, not a polite request, but a demand, forged in the fires of his anguish.
Tezcatlipoca,
He roared, his voice cracking, raw, and broken.
smoking mirror. You who watch from the darkness. You who feast on despair. I am Cuauhtémoc. I am the last of my line. Look upon this field. See the blood of my people spilled by the Maya. They have taken everything. They have left me with nothing but the echoes of their screams.
His breath hitched, a shudder running through his entire body. He felt a profound emptiness, as if he had emptied himself onto the parched earth. He waited, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. The silence stretched, taut and suffocating. Had he been foolish? Had he invoked a god who would merely watch his suffering, offer no aid, and then demand a terrible price for his heedless transgression? Then, a shift, not in the air, not in the wind, but in something deeper, a subtle vibration, a hum that seemed to emanate from the very earth beneath him. The shadows around him seemed to deepen, to coalesce, to take on a form that was both there and not there. He felt a presence, ancient and vast, pressing down on him, a palpable weight that wasn't physical, but spiritual. It was the weight of ages, the indifference of eternity. A voice, not heard with his ears, but felt in the core of his being, slithered into his consciousness. It was a voice like the rustling of dry leaves, like the hiss of a serpent in the dark, like the grinding of stone against stone. It was ancient, layered with 1,000 forgotten tongues, yet chillingly clear.
You weep, little warrior?
The voice purred, a sound of cruel amusement.
You rage against the inevitable march of fate. Your people are dust. Your empire crumbles. What is one man's grief to the grand tapestry of existence?
Cuauhtémoc's head snapped up, his eyes wide, unfocused, staring into the burgeoning darkness.
I do not weep.
He spat, the rage reignited, overriding the fear.
I demand vengeance. I demand the blood of those who spilled the blood of my kin.
A low chuckle, devoid of mirth, echoed in his mind.
Vengeance, a potent emotion, a delicious fuel. You offer your broken heart, your shattered spirit, your unyielding will. What do you offer in return, little warrior? My power is not freely given. It demands a sacrifice, a commitment.
Cuauhtémoc's gaze fell upon the lifeless eyes of Shipili, then Huitzilin, then a dozen others. The faces of his brothers, his friends, his family. The weight of their loss pressed down, not as a burden, but as a testament to his failed duty. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that he could not return to his old life. He could not simply mourn and rebuild. Not after this.
I offer myself.
He declared, his voice surprisingly steady, devoid of the earlier rasp. It was a voice forged anew in the crucible of his despair.
My life, my service, my rage. I offer my very being to your will. If you will grant me the power to unleash retribution upon the Maya, let them know the terror of what they have wrought. Let them feel the pain I feel now. Let them understand the wrath of a god scorned.
The presence intensified, pressing closer. He felt a strange, tingling sensation spread through his veins, as if liquid moonlight was being poured into him. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. The shadows writhed, no longer amorphous, but beginning to take on distinct, disturbing forms. He saw, in the periphery of his vision, the glint of scales, the flash of claws, the flick of forked tongues.
A worthy offering.
Tezcatlipoca's voice resonated, a silken caress that promised damnation.
Your grief is a fertile ground, little warrior. Your rage, a sharp blade. I see the potential. I see the chaos you can unleash. I will grant you dominion. You will command the beasts of the jungle. The serpent will be your spear, the jaguar your fang, the swarm your shroud. They will answer to your will. They will be your instruments of reckoning.
A searing heat coursed through Cuauhtémoc's body, not the burning of pain, but the burning of transformation. It felt as if his very bones were being reshaped, his flesh rewoven. He gritted his teeth, not in agony, but in a grim acceptance. He felt something detach from him, something soft and human, replaced by something ancient and cold. The divine pact was being sealed, not with blood on an altar, but with the raw essence of his despair.
Go!
The voice commanded, a final chilling whisper that echoed long after the presence began to recede.
Return to your people. Show them the power of a god's vengeance. Make the Maya tremble. Let the jungle roar.
The Maya believe they have won.
Cuauhtémoc said, his voice gaining strength, layering itself with the growl of the beast that paced in the brush nearby.
They believe the forest is their domain, that their gods favor their blades.
He stood tall, the shadows of the jungle wrapping around him as if welcoming a long-lost son. The transformation was complete. The man who had walked into the jungle to die was gone, buried under the weight of a divine obsidian rage.
Let them come to know the truth.
He murmured. He turned his back on the corpses of his kin. He did not look back. He stepped into the darkness of the trees, and the forest parted for him. Vines recoiled, branches bowed, and the path ahead cleared, as if the jungle itself were drawing a breath to scream. As he moved deeper into the verdant dark, he felt the tether to the god tighten. His movements became predatory, silent, fluid. He wasn't walking. He was flowing through the terrain, a ripple of malice in the heart of the world. Somewhere, miles to the west, a Maya scout sat by a fire, oblivious to the fact that the wind had changed. The scout sharpened a spear, laughing at a joke told by his companion. Cuauhtémoc heard the laugh. He heard the friction of stone against wood. He heard the beating of the scout's heart, a frantic, fragile rhythm that was destined to stop. Cuauhtémoc reached out with his mind, and the jungle responded. A swarm of stinging, venomous wasps stirred in the eaves of the Maya outpost. A cluster of vipers, cold and patient, slid from their burrows toward the perimeter of the camp.
Your peace is a lie.
Cuauhtémoc whispered into the void of the night. He quickened his pace, a ghost of vengeance moving toward the serpent gate. He was the smoking mirror's blade, and the word was the stone upon which he would be sharpened until there was nothing left of him but the strike. Behind him, the pool of blood in the mud finally evaporated, leaving behind only a scorched, black circle of earth. The smell of sulfur lingered, mingling with the sweet, rot-heavy scent of the rainforest. The war had begun, and it would not end until the mountain itself bowed to the ash.